barely eked out a win. The number 2 seed Manhattan barely eked out a win against the 7 seed Fairfield with a 3-2 map 5, a barn burner that you might have seen here on the channel yesterday.
Yeah.
And on the other side of the bracket, Quinnipiac pulling in a stunning upset with that LAN X Factor, playing with a bit of house money here, time 3-1 that 3rd seed. Can they do it again to the 2nd seed?
So I want to stay here and talk about 2 things with this bracket. Number 1, Manhattan was playing the number 7 seeded Fairfield, who was 4-5 coming out of league play. They were one of 3 teams to be 4-5. Quinnipiac was one of the other 3 teams to remain 4-5 coming out of the regular season. They had a little bit of a better tiebreaker. Siena College was the 3rd team. They lost to Iona earlier, who then lost to Marist. Marist, speaking of which, is the only team to go fully undefeated through regular season play. Manhattan was right behind them at 8-1. They only lost to Marist. And Marist, the only team they lost a map to through not only regulation, a regular season, but into playoffs, was Mount St. Mary's. Mount St. Mary's is the only team that has taken even an individual map off of a team of the caliber of Marist College. And for quite literal years, spanning back 2 different leagues they played in, Marist has run the MAAC conference. Nothing's changed. Manhattan, however, has gotten a lot better in recent history. But this is a team that needs to beat Quinnipiac, and more importantly, they need to do so quickly, because they cannot afford to take way too long, give over way too much information, and allow Marist to build up more info on a team that they've already beaten 3-0.
Absolutely, and information is the name of the game in Overwatch 2. If you're not too familiar with the current state of Overwatch 2, we recently had a big patch come through time. We had big changes to characters like Torbjorn, Symmetra, both of those builder characters that have big stuff go through, and we've seen a lot of different takes on the meta and what they're playing. So information is the name of the game, and you need these players to have a little bit of mystery, have something in that hat for them as the game is gonna start. We have an Orisa over on the side of Manhattan with the Symmetra looking to TP up to the top potentially. Meanwhile, Quinnipiac coming in with the Junker Queen.
Yeah, Junker Queen isn't the absurd decision here, but JQ's had a lot of difficulties against other heroes, apart from, well, herself, maybe Ramatra, and an Orisa especially. This is going to be a very odd opening fight, you have to say, and one that you have to be concerned about if you are Manhattan. If you can't start it off well, Milky Way is going to easily be able to sustain the rest of their team because they're playing the Junker Queen. Those cooldowns are deadly, you can see exactly why, but they also have a lot of health in terms of not only their cooldowns, but their Moira from behind. Alphon is the first one to fall in this first point of Lijiang, and it seems like the rest of their team may very well be soon to follow. Luckily, they do have a fairly quick respawn. The problem is they just don't have any on-point sustainability. Yet another from Milky Way. Everybody gets cleaned up. Quinnipiac has already capped, and they've got an extra 15%.
And that's the sustain coming through that you were talking about from Quinnipiac, Milky Way, with those cooldowns being elite. It's what got them that first pick in the first place. And now you got Bob Ross coming up to the Pulse Bomb. And now a Pulse Bomb isn't much when you're talking ult economy, but when it's the only ult on the field, it can be a game changer.
Oh, but it may have to be a game changer. Magnetic Grenade, much easier to line up, significantly less deadly, but it's still equally as dangerous if it lands onto the right target. And just a tad, who would have been our co-caster today, is actually the first one to fall in this one. Milky Way will fall as well, about 50% garnered, plus a little bit of stall, but nothing to write home about. Manhattan will cap back.
And it's a very efficient fight for Manhattan. The Kitsune Rush used just to clean up in that 4v5, and now you're coming up onto 4 massive ultimates, including the beat, which is going to help you sustain through this Junker Queen ultimate that Quinnipiac is going to be bringing to the table. So look for double and look for Milky Way's ult interaction and see what they can do.
Oh no, they end up popping out that blade first. They use the sound barrier extremely early just to try and counteract the coalescence, but nothing consequential starts to go the way of Manhattan. Manhattan. Double is low. Echo is lucky to currently be alive with their Genji counterpart jumping into the backline, but they've actually found two on such low HP.
What?
How in the world do they find that? Double will fall, but Echo somehow will not, and Manhattan will stay alive.
An incredible performance by Echo, but I want to talk about what I said right before that fight, which was look for the ult. And Quinnipiac, they stacked 3 ults. They stacked the Junker Queen ult, the Genji ult, and the Moira ult on top of each other. So Double's ult canceled out 3 ults for the price of 1. That's value you can only get at the best of stores.
It's stonks, but now it's stonks back the other way. Quinnipiac looking much better second time around. Milky Way does fall off the map. I'm going to say a little concerning if you're them, but Echo, yeah, just a tad, basically has cheats when you're right-clicking on a Moira. You're not going to miss any shots. Quinnipiac will be more than happy to escape with that one. And now down to nearly final fight territory here, K-Wing.
Down to final fight territory, but it's very troubling here for Quinnipiac. I mean, you have this Tracer ultimate, but Manhattan's is bringing up 3 more ults, as well as the ult that they've got right now, as the Pulse Bomb's gonna go wide. There's the Deadeye.
Deadeye finds very little here, though. Somehow catches Bob Ross jumping across. No way, that should have hit. Now Kitsune through. Manhattan want to cap back. They will, I'm gonna say, unnecessarily use Sound Barrier, but it was used to counter out the Dragon Blade. Not absurd, but still extremely concerning for them into any further fights. Rampage thrown through as well. That's not advisable.
Oh no, it's not time. I mean, they were down incredibly well there, but now as the cleanup comes through, they can't get picked off any more than that Junker Queen. Otherwise, they're going to be in a lot of trouble, and that was their biggest ult. Now they only have Coalescence and maybe the Beat if they can make this next fight a long one, but they're going into a Blade that is already ready, and the Terra Surge were recently buffed in that Tuesday patch. This is looking disastrous for Quinnipiac, and we're switching on to the Wrecking Ball as well.
Wrecking Ball, I'm gonna say maybe not advisable, but it still ends up finding one. Dragon Blade in the backline for Echo does find out Mango Shark, so a step in the right direction, but how much do they find with it afterwards? Sound Barrier, not available this time around for Double. They'd sorely love it, with low HP for them and Cereza, but it doesn't seem like it will be able to come through. Not enough time in this fight, but they're already at 90%. Keep an eye on that little check mark at the top left of your screen. Double could be the difference maker. Quinnipiac, a step in the right direction. Yes, everybody occupying the site. This is the longest 5-on-5 team fight we've seen thus far this game, but Echo will end that. Alphon, one of their own, onto Bob Ross, and it seems like it's now the difference maker goes to Manhattan. 50% to open things up for Quinnipiac, but it will not give them the round. Manhattan will strike first in this semifinal.
And this is tight. Already we see that 100-99. That's your big old sign at the side of the road that says we might be having another barn burner coming up. And it's the information that's being given away that we talked about so much for Manhattan. If they want to face Marist, and if they want to have some chance of going forward, they might be in a bit of trouble if that first round was any indication. And honestly, a lot of times these ult usage from Quinnipiac has been a bit lacking. You've seen a lot of stacks, so you're looking for them to space out these ultimates more as we go into the more tight corridors of Control Center.
Love Dueling Reapers, but who finds more payload? That's the real question. The Ramatra-Orisa conversation has been one basically since Overwatch 2 came out. Nobody really taking one over the other, at least not recently, because of the more recent buffs to Orisa, but it seems like the Ramatra is getting earlier payload, and yeah, Milky Way will find 2, make it 3, a casual 4th. Yeah, there's not much you could do there if you're Manhattan. I'd be very surprised if they don't swap because of the Orisa, and I'm a little concerned that they now haven't.
They're going to go over to the Junker Queen, which is an interesting choice. The Junker Queen usually can get out-brawled, and early Maywall is going to be really bad, but Bob Ross is going to fall first.
Ooh, Bob Ross falling. May now in a more difficult position, needs to come back, and is not the quickest hero in the game. However, some level of sustain still available. They can find a return pick. That's a much better scenario, but they've expended a lot of cooldowns just to have any level of sustain on this second attempt. Watch out for GSR. They've barely got down that Death Blossom. They're very close to it, but just a tad falling makes things significantly more difficult. And they've given over the cap. Now's where you disengage and wait for just a tad, or it's where you pop Sound Barrier.
They haven't.
They don't want to give it away. They want to go for it, and they will successfully.
GSR!
There's the Death Blossom. They counter out Alphonse, who gets Ajax out of their own. And Manhattan only has Echo, and it's not going to give him a fight.
Oh, the Seasons might not fear the Reaper, but I think Manhattan should there. What an incredible play. And it's the aggression from that beat. It's knowing that they have the resources and the confidence as well to lose your Moira, your main healer, and still go for it like that. There goes the Blizzard.
Blizzard won't find anything, though. They sustain themselves outside of it. Dragon Blade popped alongside Sound Barrier. Kitsune rushed the kitchen sink. It just seems like everything was dedicated. Yeah, Manhattan win the fight, but how much do they find off the back of it? One fight for 3-4 ultimates?
4 ults out of that fight, and Manhattan, the tank is dry right now. Quinnipiac can just walk in with this Annihilation, charge up their Coalescence, charge up their Reaper ult, which is already halfway there. This is spelling some trouble for Manhattan right now. That was a big waste of ultimates. Can they survive this rampage?
It's a speedy Annihilation. It just seems like everything started to go the way of Quinnipiac. And 50% built up, yeah, they're okay with that, but that's a very quick fight for, what, 1 ultimate?
Quick fight for an ultimate, and look at that. We talked about the tank being dry, and Manhattan, they're only coming up to 1 ultimate. 1 ultimate is above 50% for Manhattan, and for Quinnipiac, they've got the Death Blossom on the way, and everything else is coming up soon for them as well. It's not looking good, especially when we're going into almost last fight territory, and GSR with that Death Blossom has been terrifying. Bob Ross!
That's where you disengage. This is where you get out, and it seems like Manhattan understand that. They still have time to contend for one,
they can't.
But losing more players makes things much more difficult. You've officially reached final fight territory. Yes, you've already won round number 1, but your Lucio just now respawning. A touch will be labored, but it will most likely come through. No swaps have been made in order to be a catalyst to that touch, but they still want to go for it, and they're not doing so from any direction other than main. They're walking straight through Broad Street, but it doesn't seem like they're going to find anything with it. They will still find a touch. I said it'll be labored, I wasn't kidding, but how much do they find afterwards? Blizzard there, Death Blossom available, it will be used to absolutely no effect for Alphon. On the other side, however, GSR goes 2 for 2 on Control Center. He'll find 2, make it 3 with the Junker Queen. She'll survive for an extra couple seconds, but for nothing consequential. I say as a Sound Barrier comes through, Kitsune rush as well, everything being dedicated, and they have availability. Manhattan have pulled this one out from a hat. Houdini is in the house, and he goes to Manhattan College.
Manhattan, incredible stuff. I mean, here's the thing though, it's the same song once and again. Manhattan had to use everything in their pockets, all of those ults, none of them over 20%, and look at what Milky Way's got. The same Annihilation that we saw wreak havoc on them last 2 fights ago is now in the hands of Quinnipiac, and there's nothing that Manhattan can do about it. They just have to forfeit space.
No, and they had to forfeit double as well. They don't have nearly as much sustainability. They threw everything in the previous fight. Rampage, Dragon Blade, Alphon, used their Death Blossom again to no effect, and here it's just, again, going to be a touch. This one is not going to be nearly as successful. January does not have the Rampage, nor do they even have their supports. Overtime will burn. Took a little bit longer than they would have liked, but Quinnipiac will tie us up.
Yeah, and for me, the word of the day, I mean, I don't know. Wake up, besties. The wordle is ult economy. I know that's not 5 letters.
That's a lot more than 5
letters.
But
But it is. Ult economy has been the difference maker for me this entire series. When we had a little bit of rough ult usage from Quinnipiac, we saw that Manhattan flourished, completely and totally flourished, and were able to draw out 3 ultimates and counter them with just doubles beat. But when Manhattan was a little bit sloppier with their ultimates and were using them maybe a bit too many for each fight, then we saw the return of Quinnipiac. And so I'm looking at the ult economy in the 3rd round.
the ults, watch the health bars. January already fairly low. Milky Way's actually made the swap onto the Junker Queen of their own. It seems like everybody's playing inverted. Alphon goes onto the Cassidy. We've seen that before. We'll now see it at the spawn doors in about 10 seconds, and everybody will fall. GSR is running the lobby. Doesn't matter the hero, they are running the lobby.
Incredible, incredible, incredible. And whoa, no. What?
Okay, bro.
Echo gets taken out late, and now, oh, but Milky Way just gets speared into the pond. This isn't a chance for Manhattan. They're gonna push it into 44.
They want to go for it. They have the advantage because Milky Way's gone. Yes, they've lost one. Make it now 2. As Cereza gets targeted in the backline. This dive looking much better overall for Quinnipiac. But how much do they find afterwards? They do give up half of the point. They would rather take the space, and it seems like it's working for them, but it's not working for Echo, who again falls early and disjointed from their team. A dive at the backline. GSR is running things, and you can see exactly why. Cooldown management, a very impactful portion of this game, and it just seems like GSR is writing the book on it. Yeah, they give away 12%, but honestly, who cares?
Who cares indeed? At this point, Quinnipiac are coming up to all 5 of their ultimates in this next fight. Manhattan, you have to be scared though, I mean, coming from Quinnipiac, because we've seen this story before of Quinnipiac using 3-4 of their ultimates and double just using beat and countering out all 3 of them. So you have to see if they can hold and rotate, only use 1 or 2 ultimates to win this fight, rather than all of them. Here we go.
Kitsune Rush, but it's a sound barrier to counter on both sides now as the Dragon Blades pop for GSR, who again has been looking to control as much as they can. Great spear, counters out the Rampage, but it does find double before being countered out. So a step in the right direction here for Quinnipiac, and it seems like everything will be stepping in their direction. There goes that Death Blossom, but it only finds damage. Nothing consequential. January still somehow in this fight. Yes, they are the beginning, but it seems like it will be the end. As final fight once more for Quinnipiac.
Final fight, but smart here from Manhattan. Echo still holding on to this blade. Could be the opening that they need. They hold on to this blade, they use it in this next fight, and they could give themselves a little extra time, but they have to be able to rotate onto point here.
96%, they are the target. Dragon Blade now available, and nothing to counter it out. No sound barrier, and more importantly, no cleanse ability on that support line. Echo will find 2, arguably the 2 more important players. He'll find a 3rd. Great deflect onto Bob Ross. Manhattan stay alive.
And that's just incredible from Echo. It's exactly what you were looking for. And now here comes the ult rotation. It's using 1 ult, winning the fight. And then now look at January, look at Cereza. You've got 2 massive ultimates of the Terra Surge and of the Kitsune Rush, whereas Quinnipiac, they only have a Pulse Bomb and a Beat, and those are good ults, but I'd rather have Manhattans, but I'd also rather have all 5 of my team.
Oh no, Cereza already down. Kitsune Rush was on the way, but it wasn't built up in time. January's basically alone. They are now definitively alone. Sound barrier popped as well, and January with absolutely no help. Now, no health bar. Quinnipiac, fun fact, the Wordle of the day, spoiler alert, is actually erupt, and like a volcano, they'll explode into map 1. Quinnipiac take Lijiang.
Sorry for all of you Wordle heads out there for that actual spoiler of the Wordle.
I did the Wordle. I wasn't kidding. It actually is erupt.
I did the Wordle too. I got it in 5.
3, or 4.
It was rough. It was rough out here for a gamer. But the serious analysis you get from professional casters such as us, quote unquote. But either way, don't. Wordle's pretty cool. Hot take, you guys. We're not talking about Overwatch anymore. We're going to do a competitive Wordle off, and that's going to decide who goes on to face Marist.
Honestly, that should totally be a thing. Have you heard of the leagues who try to institute newer games because they're STEM leagues or different types? That should be a thing. Collegiate esports should be about educational esports.
Give me collegiate Wordle. I want to see collegiate Wordle. I want to see the biggest brains of our time develop a Wordle meta. Either way, actually getting into the game which we are supposed to be talking about of Overwatch.
Yeah.
I think that we saw a lot of different ult combinations. We saw a lot of questionable ult decisions.
Yeah.
And this isn't a shot at either of these teams, but when these ult economies are so back and forth, and when we've seen buffs to ult charge, you have to worry about your ult economy and how you're using your ultimates, just because a lot of these ultimates are fight winners. And yes, it does matter how you use them. Yes, it does matter. You know, if I drop the Death Blossom in and I get 3 people, yeah, that is more value than getting 1 person with the Death Blossom. But alternatively, sometimes having more ults than the enemy team can win you a fight implicitly. We saw it 2 times on round 2 of, well, no one else in the lobby has an ultimate. I have Annihilation. I press Q. Everyone tries to run away from me into spawn, almost. We saw them run clear off the map, almost. And yet still, we win the fight. They can't disengage fast enough when there's a Lucio sped Ramattra with Annihilation running at them, looking to give them the scariest bear hug.
Yeah, it's a little scary, especially when you see, we'll say, some ultimates that seemingly are expended in, we'll say, less than ideal scenarios that you think, oh, they won't have an effect, but then later on they do. I want to focus on Night Market. We saw Milky Way play the Rampage. They threw it into the Abyss in a 1 versus 4 for absolutely no reason. They could have used that to then win Night Market. Yes, they subsequently won the map regardless of their Night Market success or lack thereof, but that could have been a difference maker should they have gone to a 3rd round and lost it, because then they wouldn't have had to play the 3rd round. They had already won Control Center previous. This is a much more concerning factor when it comes to longer games and outside of Control. I always say this every time I cast Overwatch. Control can be a statistical outlier to a series. Quinnipiac could have won that 200-0, and we could also see them lose 3-1, and I would not be terribly surprised. However, because it was still a fairly close game, I'm indicating that this should be a close series through and through. Our next map has already been selected. It is loser's pick. That's how this works. Winners then get to pick side into the second map. That's how most playoff systems work, in my personal favorite. Midtown is our second. I have to say, this offers even more flexibility on the tank and honestly more DPS line than most other hybrid maps currently in the meta.
Yeah, I'm interested in that. Both of these teams seem very interested in playing this brawl style composition.
Yeah.
And you have to wonder, where's my boy? Where's my King's Row? Where is my comfort pick? Where is the map that all Overwatch players go to and suck on like a pacifier when they get nervous? It's interesting. Midtown being one of the newer maps in the hybrid type means that it is more open, like you said, but it also does lend itself a bit more to a poke style composition. And I think for a team that's looking to maybe run some more Ramattra, maybe thinks that that's their strength, maybe that's what we're seeing here. But it is concerning to have a team that really should be in the driver's seat here on the side of Manhattan drop Control. It's concerning because at a map 5, if each of these teams wins their own map pick, it's going to be not their map pick. It's going to be Manhattan trying to beat Quinnipiac at their own map pick. Have to do it at some point.
I think it's if they go down 2. They could still win like the next 2, and then Quinnipiac would get back-to-back map selections, but it's still like a coin flip going into map 5, especially when you're looking at this from the perspective of Manhattan, saying, what do you change going into a second map? This second map of Midtown, we'll look at the defensive composition first, because the attack is yet to leave spawn doors. They're sticking with the Orisa. And honestly, it wasn't a terrible selection, but now combining it with the Zenyatta and BAP, I don't hate it. The problem is you take away some of that flexibility alongside a Kiriko, which could be concerning down the line.
Yeah, they're looking to play a lot more poke style, and this is what this map lends itself to, is playing a little bit more from range, trying to put in a little bit of poke damage onto this team of Quinnipiac, whereas this brawl composition that they're running is gonna be a bit more looking to get in your face, pop the Nemesis form, and just run at you, as already Echo's gonna take down Bob Ross.
Echo with the burst, and Bob Ross falling there gives much less backline capabilities for this defensive side. I don't know how much flexibility they're going to have afterwards. And yeah, there's another that should be this fight. No, yeah, it will be. Milky Way's not going to survive through that one, and GSR only finds one. Double will get back somewhat quickly. Perfectly fine if you're Manhattan.
Perfectly fine indeed. And Manhattan, it's a good start to their defense, but my concern is we're not seeing a whole lot of ult charge on the side of their DPS or their tanks. Where you've got GSR already 75% to the Deadeye. That could be a very big ult coming through, and oh no, GSR!
Who even needs a Deadeye when you basically have aimbot already? GSR finds 3 separate players and say goodbye to Manhattan's first round defense. They will have to completely disengage, and GSR isn't missing. I know January has a big hitbox on the Orisa, but it's not that big, right?
No, it's really not, and that is a massive turnaround, and that's what I was talking about there that I didn't really understand for a second. GSR had so much ult charge, more than even the winning DPS of that first fight, because they were putting in so much work on this Cassidy. Now having the Deadeye and putting in the poke damage that really Manhattan is juggling. Alphon on the Cassidy of their own is really having some difficult times. So Bob Ross over on the flank looking to put some pressure into Alphon. There's the 1v1.
Oh, and they're trying to just completely bamboozle them, keep them distracted while the rest of the team pushes up. And look at January. They're now having to turn their attention. That's a full disengage on the front line. This is a very good way of playing Tracer. Yes, you're not finding immediate kills, but you're doing enough damage and forcing the team to look at you at least. Another recall used, but Echo more than aware of them, more than cognizant of the position, and now more than concerned just the same. Milky Way joined up with them. Again, Annihilation is built up here, but so too is that Paris Surge. Deadeye used finds nothing but thin air. Nobody even gives Alphon the time of day. They don't even want to take the fight, much less be involved in it. There's that pulse bomb though, and Bob Ross with the backline already finding one. Annihilation now used trying to counter out that Transcendence, and it's working. Everybody caught up inside the nanobots, and it is indeed a near team kill, at least as close as you're going to get to it without the dong going off.
And that's a really rough situation for Manhattan. Quinnipiac really making them look lost in the sauce with their approach. Bob Ross as well starting to come out in full force and just distract and split them up, as that is an aggressive Terra Surge.
It's in the middle of your own Dragon Blade. You press Q on 2 players at the exact same time, waste no time between them, you barely force out Sound Barrier, of which was inconsequential by the way, and then Coalescence comes out and it's gonna be successful. Nobody's living through both support ultimates, especially when you've already lost your DPS line beforehand. Say goodbye to second point, 4 minutes on that time bank to complete Midtown for Quinnipiac.
4 minutes on the time bank, and GSR finding the pickup with Cereza as well. Oh my goodness, GSR is just a madman on the Cassidy, pushing this fight back. That's basically like a one fight there, as now Manhattan has to regroup and spawn, and Quinnipiac can take full space on Point Charlie. And the Deadeye's there as well, almost lapping Alphon, as there's the Immortality Field out and gone from the Pulse Bomb.
Double would have died there, 100%. Deadeye somehow doesn't find either player. Shield and hard cover for both January and Double respectively. Double has survived 2 near deadly DPS ultimates in the span of maybe 10 seconds while only using 1 cooldown in the process. Granted, that amplification matrix had absolutely no impact. Echo now being susceptible, and it turns out the magnetic grenade will find the doppelganger of GSR. He'll find a second, looking for a third onto Echo. There's the power roll into the reload, and it looks like even though Quinnipiac is located in Connecticut, they run the streets of Midtown Manhattan.
That's incredible. And now with this last effort from Manhattan, they switch onto the Doomfist Deadeye to try and zone off the point, but Alphon's gonna get taken out And now here's the real zoning coming in from
Oh my
Milky
gosh.
Way with the ultimate. GSR is just nasty with it. 2 minutes 39 on the board for Quinnipiac. That is a roar coming out from them.
Okay, I'm mechanically gifted at Overwatch. My brain maybe not the best for when I'm playing. Yeah, I overcommit a little bit, but I'm pretty good at aim. GSR has a better headshot percentage in the first round of Midtown than I do accuracy percentage in general. This guy's insane. How in the world do you land that many shots? I mean, I understand why his name is GSR at this point. It stands for gunshot residue. It's all over his right wrist because of how many shots he's landing. This is just statistically improbable.
I love how our observer is very interested in that little bug of the cart going back and forth there.
Me too.
But
I hate when that happens.
I do too. I mean, you do a prod a lot, so you know the struggle.
I watch it every time.
2 minutes and 39 seconds on the clock in Midtown. Now tell me, Time, have you seen that?
Yes.
Like ever?
Yes.
How often do you see that?
Probably about once every 10 games of Midtown. And the team that gets 2 minutes and 39 either does insanely amazing on defense, where they only give up maybe first point plus 20-30 meters around the first 90-degree angle, or it goes to like triple OT and both teams complete Midtown like 4 times.
Well, we're behind on the stream schedule here on B Stream, so we're gonna hope that we don't get that big of a banger on this match. Hey, you're also here too.
That's true.
You're here for the next stream as well. So already the rollout on the oh no.
We have our answer. Turns out this may very well be a quick second round. Alphon just accepts their fate. January is full HP, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case for very long. And Echo, jumping around, is basically a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle with how many flips he's doing in midair, and yet is still shot out of thin air like Ski.
I mean, to be fair to Genji, my guys probably got the teenage, got the mutant, got the ninja. All he needs is a shell, and we'd have a turtle. I smell a collab coming in. That would be really cool.
Bad.
But I think it would be cool.
Yeah.
I think you're just a doubter.
No, I said that wouldn't be bad. Sorry.
Oh, that wouldn't be
Need to
bad.
enunciate.
Okay, you're no longer a doubter.
Yep.
But again, GSR, look at that ult charge. Higher ult charge than their Moira. 75% and counting. This is insanity from the capacity of Quinnipiac.
That's about twice as much as Alphon has. Now more than twice as he finds yet another elimination. Just jumping in at this point. This is as clean as you like if you're on the Quinnipiac side. And the Orisa isolated inside of the side room. The Echo again trying to get out alive. They have the deflect, so it may keep them up. But you're just delaying the inevitable. 1 minute 40 seconds gone. And I don't know if they found more than one kill. I don't know if they found a kill.
No, I'm not sure if they did, if they have either. I think they took up Bob Ross at one point, but now you're coming into massive ult bank for Quinnipiac. They've got 3 ults online, including the deadly annihilation of Milky Way that could just end this fight on its own. Here comes the Deadeye.
Deadeye put through. This just creates so much space. Everybody has to play hard cover, but a great Javelin. Now the Terra Surge alongside that Amplification Matrix. One does not impact the other, but certainly combining them helps the rest of your team. GSR finally is successfully dove upon, and it's a quick disengage, but with how quick Quinnipiac got away, they should be able to touch back. They should have time to do so.
They actually just might. Yeah, no, Bob Ross is just waiting there with the pulse bomb. Gonna sneak out, say hello there, have a pulse bomb.
Oh,
it is gonna draw out both support. Oh no!
C9. Oh no!
C9.
Everybody goes in, but they completely give it away off the Tracer recall. The Transcendence was successful. I don't even think anybody was kicked off the point. I think our first C9 here in the MAAC LAN. And that's when you're going to want package your Quinnipiac. That's an extra 2.5 minutes that Manhattan, I'm going to say, are very lucky to currently have.
That they are. That's so rough coming out of Quinnipiac. I mean, they're... Yeah, I don't know. I'm just in pain. Oh, that's not good for GSR. Taken out.
Deadeye used. GSR gone. Bob Ross will be lucky to live. So too will Milky Way. They won't. And you're looking at this backline and saying, what and why has it changed? Not only with Mango Shark swapping from the Lucio, like we saw in our previous round, but now you have GSR going on to the Genji, albeit a little while ago, but the question is why?
The question is why. GSR has been completely popping off on the Cassidy. I don't really think that he was getting fully countered, maybe for a quicker comeback with the dash. Here comes the blade from Echo, but it's GSR getting all the kills.
It's GSR, even without a blade, finding everything. Yeah, Echo will find one, but they'll be taken out by the melee of just a tad. Who needs a blade when you've got a very strong fist? And yeah, it's Quinnipiac just walking all over Manhattan. Yes, they will get past that first 90-degree turn, but now the fire truck backing away.
Backing away, and a massive ult investment from Manhattan that's not matched on the side of Quinnipiac. They have 4 ults coming up. It was only Bob Ross's pulse bomb that was used at the start of that initial contest, and Bob Ross is going to be taken out, but here comes the blade from GSR.
Blade of their own, and into the back line. They use the deflect to stay alive as well. That's such good expertise with the Genji. They certainly would have died from 2 or 3 separate members, and now not only do they survive, but they find 2 more eliminations over the top. Team kill goes off, Quinnipiac cleanly out in front. No, my goodness, imagine that hits.
I gotta say, if I'm GSR, I'd be a little annoyed at Milky Way there. No dash resets came through for GSR because Milky Way was there cleaning up all those kills. And when it comes to a blading Genji, getting dash resets and getting that 50 damage that the dash can get you is really impactful, and that's how much damage it can do. Here comes the Annihilation.
Annihilation, and it just finds everybody. Yeah, they either have to back away or die. Add January to that conversation. There's no way you live through that. And it's nearly touching spawn doors. You're basically touching spawn doors if you're GSR. And at this point, you're just diving into the backline. What can Manhattan change?
They can't really change much. I mean, it's ultimates is what's happening here. And you're still advantaged for Quinnipiac. You've got 3 ults coming through. 3 ults online, and GSR, no. Oh, did they peek through?
No, they didn't.
Bob Ross, do it to him. Do it to him, son. Do it! Blinks in with the melee. Yeah, this
around
is
the Rosie.
very
Echo?
dangerous.
How in the world are you alive? What? Echo hasn't died yet. Somehow Bob Ross wins the fight? Yeah, emote
What?
on them, please. There's no way you're supposed to live there. And now it's final fight of this round, and what will most likely be the map at that point. Please get the deflect. Please hit him back with it. Deadeye will find nothing here, not even giving him the time of day. Hardcover being the MVP. And that pulse bomb thrown to the back line somehow doesn't find even consequential damage, but will they even find a touch? 1.5 seconds, they will indeed. But Alphonse will fall, sound barrier will be used on both sides, so it's just a longer fight, delaying the inevitable. And there's no Thanos in this one to snap his fingers. It's just GSR with yet another ultimate built up. More damage done over top. January's gone. Quinnipiac will go up 2-0 and are just a single map from Marist.
And this is surprising. This is the punch here, because this was Manhattan's map pick.
Yeah.
This was the map that they said, we're coming back. You've got this. Here we go. And I mean, I'm just gonna be quiet here and let the work of GSR speak its truth, because no way you live that.
Nope.
No way you live that. Getting the pick onto Echo as well, taking out a Doomfist pretty much single-handedly in the 1v1, with the Doomfist getting the engage, getting the seismic slam, getting the punch, going out the block, but still just hitting headshot, 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 just getting dink after dink after dink. Just, he's too good. There's nothing else to it. He's too good.
It's got to be a LAN diff as well. I'm gonna just give you some context on Quinnipiac's previous prowess, and this is in no bit chronological order, but in comparison to the rankings. They played number 1 Marist, lost 3-0. They played number 2 Manhattan. I don't know, the team they're currently up 2-0 against right now. They lost, you guessed it, 3-1 in that series. They played Iona, number 4, they lost 3-0. They played Mount St. Mary's, they lost 3-1. They played Sienna, they lost 3-0. they did not beat a single team in the top 5, except for arguably themselves. Or sorry, top 6, because they were number 5 based off of just round differential alone. And yet here they are, up 2-0 on the number 2 team, and at this point you have to think, can they threaten Marist? Again, the number 5 squad, the only teams they had beaten were 4 of the 5 teams below them in the standings, and yet on LAN, it seems like the team's indomitable. They haven't lost a map apart from just one in the quarterfinals. They're now a single map from grand finals, and you're looking at your watch saying, where did the time go? More importantly, where did Manhattan run off to in between the quarter and semifinals?
Truly. And for Quinnipiac as well, it is potentially a bit of land differential. I mean, we were talking about it before, about these two teams of, we saw this team, we saw Manhattan struggling against a team that maybe they should have beaten on LAN with their first LAN game, and we saw Quinnipiac excel against the 3rd seed and pull out a big upset, and now we're looking for an even bigger upset as we go to the last map pick of Manhattan, and it's probably time, I would say, the worst map type to have a map pick on. I believe we're going to Flashpoint. I forgot the map name because I'm
either Survivor
so
or
good.
New Junk City.
Survivor or New Junk City. There's 2 map types, and to be honest, there's one map.
Yeah.
Neither of them are good, but it's usually Survivor. So the choice that Manhattan has just given themselves is, oh boy, do we want to go to Survivor like a normal person, like civil folk, or do we want to be complete and utter barbarians and go to New Junk City like we have lost all our sensibilities? If we go to New Junk City, I'm gonna have to open up my closet and put on pearls so that I can clutch them.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm a New Junk City hater.
Honestly,
I'm calling it here. I'm a New Junk City hater.
I don't hate New Junk City. Mainly because I get to see it every other week. But the only time I ever see New Junk City is in leagues where it is a predetermined map pool. There are 2 different types of map pools, technically 3. You have where the map pool for the entirety of a series is predetermined. No team gets to pick a map if they lose, no team gets to pick a map if they win. There are map pools that are predetermined for map type, but not for map itself, like we are right now. Flashpoint we know is next, but we don't know what map just yet. And, oh my goodness, yes we do.
What?
It's New Junk City.
I'm a hater.
They've made the conscious decision to be non-civil folk, it seems. But then there's the other map type where you have a map pool that is non-predetermined. So the following season, or the following series, could pick up on Escort, could pick up on Push, but you choose Flashpoint and then the opposing team picks the map. Here we have the second of those 3 options, and they consciously pick New Junk City, and here's the Mardi Gras pearls being put on. It's New Junk City! Oh my goodness! I don't have pearls, so I can't do the same.
I'm clutching my pearls.
I can't do the same bit.
They're beads. I got them from a play 2 years ago, and I got home and they stained my hands purple. But I still own them because I don't throw things away. But they work out in prop comedy. New Junk City, okay. New Junk City is an interesting map choice. It's a lot more enclosed than your traditional map of Survivor would be. It's a lot more conducive to potentially more of a Junker Queen brawl. I'm interested to see if we might maybe see some Mauga come out. I don't think.
Oh, a lot yesterday.
He
lot.
He got buffed. He got buffed. My boy got buffed. We're not gonna see it.
I hate. I was gonna predict what tanks we were gonna see. I would have been right too. I was thinking they picked this so they could either bring the Orisa or the Junker Queen. It seems like the Orisa will be indeed locked in. Milky Way bringing the Junker Queen. This is called New Junk City. There's a reason you pick them. But you gotta say, this is still a surprising selection for Manhattan. very few people consciously choose New Junk City. What do they have cooking?
What do they have cooking indeed as the engage comes through from January, pushing through aggressively on this Orisa, taking it to Milky Way on this Junker Queen. Usually that's going to be Milky Way's job, is pushing forward and taking the aggressive angles, but we're already pushing through GSR. The Genji that's been popping off so thoroughly is going to be outdone by Echo, currently taking out Milky Way. It seems like Manhattan might have a new lease on life, but it's going to be taken away. Cereza taken down, and Bob Ross and the rest of Quinnipiac going in hard. GSR very low, but it's Echo getting taken down. What a turnaround.
There we go. I was going to say, are they going to cap? They basically won the fight 15 seconds prior. They could have had an extra 20-23%. But they do decide to cap. Great start for Quinnipiac, especially losing that opening pick. Echo had a command on that fight to start, but as soon as they lose it, they just have to disengage. And Manhattan, now a different lease. They need to go in aggressively. They have to shut down Milky Way before their cooldowns not only have a chance to go off the first time, but have a chance to rebuild themselves for a second opportunity. And there they will go, everybody pressing every cooldown available to them. There's a great pulse bomb, does damage on the Milky Way, finds a kill and a catalyst on to Mango Shark, but just a tad to Coalescence, finds one. How much more will it find? No. It's the pulse bomb and his damage back the other way, and yet another turn fight for Quinnipiac, but Bob Ross on low HP needs to contend with their counterpart of Alphon alongside Cereza, and Bob Ross will fall. Manhattan, this time stabilized, but they give up 2/3 of Arena to do so.
That they do, and that is pretty much one fight territory when you're talking Flashpoint. These numbers tick up deceptively fast. Now Milky Way on the side of Quinnipiac is a bit alone, and it's a very dangerous position to be in. They need to get back on the point. But the team
just play inside the Kitsune Rush for some reason. Soundberry used extremely early here for Manhattan, and now afterwards, there goes a Dragon Blade, perfect counter. Usually one is usually countered the other. This time it's back the other way. Now back the other with the Dragon Blade for Echo is much more successful. And Quinnipiac, yes, they find damage. Yes, they will find the cap temporarily, but no, they will not win the fight overall.
A great play from January there, stunning up Milky Way out of the rampage, kind of leaving them high and dry, and that was the turning
second
point.
time today.
Echo's Blade as well. Yeah, second time that Junker Queen ult has been canceled. January now on a bit of a streak, and you've got the Pulse Bomb online and no mitigation abilities to stop it.
What? It lands, but it doesn't kill anybody. Somehow everybody lives. It either missed and hit the wall. Maybe not mattering, though. All the damage is now a catalyst to everybody falling. Yeah. And it seems like Arena will indeed go the way of Manhattan. We'll say a not ideal start, but they certainly follow up where they need. They'll take care of Bob Ross. The overtime wick will burn. Manhattan are in the lead, but only on the map.
But only on the map is right. But they're coming up to some big ultimates. They've got that Terra Surge. The beat is very, very shortly approaching from double. For Quinnipiac, they've really only got the Pulse Bomb. So again, even if they can land it, there is the threat of the Suzu from Cereza, and there goes the Terra Surge.
Terra Surge, what does it find afterwards? That's the real question. Echo at this point has had some difficulties getting through, but it doesn't seem like Quinnipiac with their swaps have found any space. It was the damage again the start, and yes, some of these ultimates have not been directly lethal for Manhattan, but they have set up the rest of the team well enough to follow up for the fight.
That they have, and again, Manhattan, a great economic fight using only one ult, and now 4 ults on the board or coming up quickly. The beat can be used aggressively to sustain or to be held onto to keep for GSR's Blade when that comes through, and Mango Shark won't have the beat for Echo's Blade already nearly charged. Cereza needs to stay alive though. Cereza goes down, that could be disaster for Manhattan.
Much do they follow up on? No, they don't. GSR falling first. January does go down. Who is the MVP between the two? That's the real question. Milky Way doesn't fall to yet another pulse bomb that lands directly on them. They're forcing Manhattan to disengage, but in all this time, for almost this entire fight, it was Quinnipiac to cap before it ended. And look at all the percentage they built up off the back of it.
That they've built up so much percentage, and they didn't use a single ultimate to do it. They have 5 ults on the board, and the question is, if they can start rotating these ultimates, if they can start using a few to charge up the next, and not blow all of them, because we've seen this song before. Can they sing it a different way this time, as the beat has to come out for no ultimate from the side of Manhattan?
No, and again, it's the Kitsune Rush before anything else, so everybody just dedicates everything they have without anything to initiate it, and more importantly, Quinnipiac only had to press Q 3 times to counter. It was 3 for 3 in ultimates, yes, but it just seems like Quinnipiac have been leading every feasible metric in ult counting. We've seen this since Lijiang. We brought it up going into Midtown. It didn't change much in Midtown, and now on towards New Junk City. What happens from there?
That's the question, and this is the big advantage of ult rotation and of playing smart with your ultimates, is that Manhattan only has 1 ult on the board, January coming up to their own Terra Surge, but they do reposition onto point first. 2 ults for Quinnipiac, but they are relatively low impact. It's the Pulse Bomb and the Coalescence, and the Coalescence can be canceled out, but Echo's gonna get taken down first.
Oh, Echo falling, and basically the rest of the team will follow. This is not a sustainable fight. Losing your Kiriko, losing those cooldowns, and honestly just losing the fight. Period. End of story. Quinnipiac, again, a good start to a round, but how much do they find off the back of it? Again, the real question we have to ask is, can Manhattan recover like we saw back on Arena?
They have the ults to do it. They have the Terra Surge. They have the Blade. No defensive ultimates online for Quinnipiac. And this is the chance. This is the chance. This is the question. How many ults do they need to do it? Because ideally, right, you want them to use either the Terra Surge or the Blade, but they're going to stack up the 2 of them.
How about both? They do it again. We've seen this song and dance before. This one much more successful, and more importantly, less expensive. It takes them a little while. Echo's trying to 1v1 an Orisa at close range. That's not advisable. They will do damage. They'll have help to end the fight. But now 60-10. Manhattan still have a lot to recover, and a couple of cooldowns now built up back to do it.
Now, the reason why I wanted them to only use the Terra Surge or the Blade is because look at the ults on the side of Quinnipiac. They've got 2 ults coming on board, and it's those 2 ults that we talk about, that Terra Surge Blade combo, but the Pulse Bomb's gonna come in and land on GSR. That's no Blade for you.
That is the most impactful person you can find with a Blade like that, or with a Pulse Bomb like that. The Blade was nearly available, and now Milky Way again swarmed. Manhattan now in final fight territory. Their recovery has been nearly perfect, but again, it has been expensive. They're down to Kitsune Rush and Sound Barrier up against what will be most likely the Terra Surge Blade that we saw earlier.
The Terra Surge Blade is deadly, but can Quinnipiac even touch point? It's a very tough walk to Refinery, and they've got not a long time. They can't hesitate. They're going to get the touch, but here comes the Terra Surge and the Blade.
It doesn't work. They end up Suzuing the Terra Surge. It goes off at the same time, so nobody is drawn in. The effect is completely nullified. That is the first time I have ever seen that mechanic. But GSR now with a Blade, we've seen this similar from Manhattan just 20, 30, 40 seconds ago. This one a little bit more impactful. January will be forced away from the point. Cap will go to Quinnipiac, and they're still finding staggering kills. January will fall. This may end this 3rd point.
That it may, especially considering that we have some good ults on the side of Quinnipiac, and the Blade is not charged up. They have to try and blink on the point. Alphon needs to go very aggressive, and it looks like, no, they're not even going for it. Manhattan, they're just trying to reload. No, they do get the touch right in the end.
They've got
the Terra Surge charging up for Blade.
It works, but how much do they find afterwards? Coalescence to counter. Mango Shark goes back up to full HP. Sound Barrier well in the way, and the Coalescence actually finds Echo. They eat the Pulse Bomb as the Javelin spin will be the counter. Who needs a Sigma? Kinetic Grasp is overrated. Javelins are just objectively cooler. Science is overrated as well. Please don't take that as financial advice.
Milky Way. What an incredible player. What a star coming out from them eating that pulse bomb and playing so well to mitigate the damage, mitigate the ultimates, and now Manhattan are in a free fall. Quinnipiac coming in with 3 ultimates into this fight. They could so easily rotate those 3 ultimates, just the pulse bomb and the beat into the Terra Surge Blade combo and get the 2 wins necessary to close out the series. Oh, but the pulse bomb.
Pulse bomb, it finds damage again, but it doesn't find anything consequential. Echo in the backline already using their deflect. You're not going to live through this one all that much longer when you're between 4 or 5 different heroes of Quinnipiac. And now, Cereza throws themselves off the map. January will try and delay for as long as they can, but it really doesn't matter. You die, and then they cap. It'll be the exact same timing either way. At this point, it's just extra ult building.
That it is. Quinnipiac using one ult, perfectly done, perfectly rotated. They have the blade, they have the coalescence, they have the beat. Manhattan, they are charging up to a lot of their ultimates. So Quinnipiac looking to make this fight very quick, looking to use these ults at the advantage that they have early to get themselves another fight win and set themselves up in prime position to kill this series 3-0. Let's see if they can do it.
The longer this fight lasts, the better Manhattan will be, but not if Alphon goes down nearly immediately. Coalescence trying to counter out anything they can throw. Great Javelin, yet another countered out ultimate and canceled by January, but they're found just the same. There goes the Terra Surge, finds just a tad. Bob Ross dies in the same juncture. Somehow that Javelin doesn't find the death onto GSR as they'll pop Blade and find 2 more over top. Oh my goodness, Double somehow wins the fight point blank, but it's by no means over. There goes the Pulse Bomb. That will finally win Manhattan the round, at least the capture of the point, but by no means are they out of the woods just yet.
No, they aren't. Look at that ult combo that Quinnipiac is brewing up like a witch's cauldron. They got the Terra Surge Pulse Bomb. That's a deadly combo. It might not be the Terra Surge Blade, but you throw that Pulse Bomb into one of the people sucked up into the Terra Surge, and you can get a pick, if not more than one. So Quinnipiac have a very big opportunity here, and it's Echo's Blade that's going to be the only chance for Manhattan. Here comes the Terra Surge. It finds nothing.
It got booped. They tried to pop it, but they got booped before they were able to press Q, so nobody got drawn inside. Nobody was in the vicinity. Good Pulse Bomb, but it somehow misses. January stays alive, but they've got some help in the backline here. Say goodbye to Akiriko, though. Your help has disappeared, and the cap has already gone the direction of Quinnipiac. Echo will pop Blade. They'll dash into their depth. A 6-foot grave is where they will lie. Manhattan are sent home packing. 3-1 in the regular season means absolutely nothing if you can't beat them in postseason. Quinnipiac will face the undefeated Marist in grand finals tomorrow.
And they're on such a hot streak. Such an incredible streak. Taking out the 3rd seed. They were the underdogs, completely and totally taking them out without barely breaking a sweat. 3-1. Now going up against the 2nd seed, with everyone saying that the Cinderella story was over, that the clock had struck midnight, but it has not. Rolling through 3rd seed, rolling through 2nd, only dropping 1 map so far. Now they're looking to face off against the undefeated Marist in the finals tomorrow. What an incredible story. What an incredible storyline. And I am so insanely excited to see that finish tomorrow. And if you want to see that, make sure you're following the main Twitch channel here of MAAC Esports, that you've got yourself notified for when that goes live, because you don't want to miss that David and Goliath story, because I believe that there is such a chance with the number 2 seed and the number 3 seed defeated. Can Quinnipiac call themselves God Slayers? Can they finally stop the dominance of the team that has been running the league, running MAAC Esports for years now, for seasons and seasons of Overwatch 2? Can they put a stop to Marist? You'll have to find out tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. Championship Saturday. Sundays are overrated. Everybody needs to get back to school because they've got classes on Monday. But you have to say, Marist going 3-0 against quite literally every team except for the team that Quinnipiac has beaten in the quarterfinals. Quinnipiac 3-0's Manhattan. Again, teams they had lost to in resounding fashion in the regular season, but if you can't do it on LAN, you can't do it at all. That's my personal opinion. You can see the visualization of the bracket. We could talk about it for ages. But as of right now, every single game has ended as expected, except for maybe that Manhattan-Fairfield game where Manhattan took a couple extra games to close it rather than they'd like to do, and of course, this game. But there has not been a single seed upset outside of Quinnipiac doing it twice. Beating the 3 seed as the 6 seed, beating the 2 seed as the 6 seed. Their Cinderella story, all they need is an extra shoe.
Maybe Quinnipiac and Marist are your 2 finalists, and they're going to be duking it out on the main stage tomorrow. Again, such an exciting matchup, because it's not your normal single elimination bracket where you have the number 1 seed on one side, the number 2 seed on the other, and you just have to watch as the number 1 and the number 2 seed beat everyone up. No, Quinnipiac pulling away 2 upsets. This is their story right now, because they literally are climbing their way through the ranks, struggling to get into this bracket at all, struggling to make a name for themselves, struggling so hard against number 4, 3, 2, and 1, and they have beaten now number 3, number 2, and maybe, just maybe, number 1.